welcome to Movies, Films, and Flicks. I am Mark Hoffmeyer, and joining me is a man who for 2 hours every day at random intervals turns into a mallard duck. It's Adam Hudgens.
In Canada, the mallard duck is the most noble of all birds.
Oh, no, it is. And
right.
I love mallard ducks. I was looking at a Muscovy duck the other day, and I said to him, why can't you be a mallard duck?
Of course. That's just the way it goes.
Then I felt terrible about it because it kind of gave me a nice look.
Well, mallards don't want to hurt anybody.
Yeah.
So we went to the beach one time here in Canada, the Canada beach.
Yeah.
And my wife's friend's husband, I want to be very clear about that, fell asleep. And we were feeding ducks fish crackers, like those little goldfish crackers.
Yeah.
But with him sleeping, I just covered him in them.
Oh, no.
And he woke up to like 3 mallard ducks, like just standing on him eating crackers. And he's like, "Raw!" And then they were like, "Raw!" It was the best moment of my life.
I would have woken up and been so happy just to have ducks next to me. I would love to have a mallard duck right next to me right now.
Just a pet mallard.
Now, a lot of people know about our Comic-Con history. You know, we worked I worked with you in the Toronto Comic-Con scene for a couple of years there, and
would it be fair to say that we dominated the Toronto Comic-Con scene?
Yeah, pretty much. We owned it.
Yeah.
We put it in a headlock, did all that, but 2 hours a day you would turn into a mallard, and most people would hate it. But you would just kind of fly around and get people coffee, and I mean, you could still go grab shark. You were much quicker. You didn't have to worry about crowds. Your line control was on point.
You know who didn't hate it?
Who?
Was Erin Gray from Buck Rogers. She thought it was kind of neat.
Yeah, she thought it was awesome. Adam West, Batman, loved it.
Yeah.
Flash Gordon loved it.
Yeah. Sam Jones III.
Just everyone was real. I mean, you didn't miss a beat when you were a mallard duck, which I got to say, I kind of got annoyed when you turned back to Adam because you couldn't fly to go grab us stuff anymore.
No, me as a person is my weakest form. Yeah,
I mean, when you're a mallard, you just take over parties. That's the one time I don't want you turning into, like, when we used to hang out, have nice get-togethers, and you would just dominate. Like the disco would start playing. I mean, I just left. You know,
the movie with Will Smith coming out where he turns into a pigeon is based on our exploits in the Toronto Comic-Con after party.
Yeah, it is. That was legendary. I mean, they had a VVIP for you.
Right.
It was
a VID, very important duck.
Yeah. And then you're kind of like, this is cool, but no one's in here with me. And they're like, well, we're not going to let in wild ducks, you know?
No, they're not important ducks.
I didn't like that phase where you wore a vest too much.
Well, I wanted to be cast in Peter Rabbit.
Yeah.
And I thought, if I'm a duck wearing a vest, I'm a shoo-in.
Yeah. But
my shooting schedule with those 2-hour windows, they were like, if something went wrong, then all of a sudden I'd be Adam again, and no one wanted that. So then
you became Donald Gleason stand-in.
That's right. And, oh my goodness. You know, what is going on right now? So we went deep cut with this duck story.
When have we not? I was going to say, you with that vest, you looked as uncomfortable as Sly Stallone did in Cliffhanger with that giant jacket that we never see again, which is doing really well, by the way, the Cliffhanger episode we did.
Why wouldn't it? It's got everything, including the worst stage shots ever at the end.
I don't get it.
I don't get it.
Now, so, what's up?
I just want to say, as a segue into what we're talking about today, one of my pet peeves is when a celebrity or an actor passes and then everybody becomes that guy's biggest fan. Like, oh, I love that guy. He so sad he's gone, but really they don't. We have a documented history. Almost every podcast we do, we put a list together, and you can hear my love for Rutger Hauer, and I try to put him on all my lists, and I'm always giving props to Rutger Hauer, and we lost him, and that's why we chose to do Ladyhawke today. I said, Mark, we got to do a Rutger Hauer episode. We got to do one of his movies. And, well, at first we were just going to do a retrospective of Rutger Hauer, but that's not really our style.
No.
So we wanted to base it on a movie. So Mark said he's a casual Rutger fan, hasn't gone deep into his library.
I'm the guy that posts the Blade Runner quote.
Right. And so he says, what would be the Rutger Hauer movie you'd pick to do? And without hesitation, I blurted Ladyhawke.
It was immediate. You said it as I had 2 words left, and you said it before that.
So,
and you were a duck at the time too, which is even better.
I was a duck. I had to quack, lady quack. So
you want some lady talk? I stole your line.
No, I was going to do some lady talk tonight, which sounds way sexier than it actually is going to be. But I just want to say, like, before we get into it, on initial viewing, watching Ladyhawke for the first time, out of 10 stars, what do you give it?
Okay. Okay, I got a 2-tiered rating system.
I love it.
All right, first time I saw it, 7, right? First time, 7.
Okay.
Second time, after I read this really cool Tor article and reading more about the movie, 9.
Okay. So 7 is respectable for watching a movie that has aged from 85, was it?
Yeah. I gotta say, though, all credit to Richard Donner, the director, because he had a history of making things. He wanted to make things as earthly as possible. Like, he wanted to make things as realistic as possible. He didn't want dragons. He didn't want lizards. He wanted practical effects. There's very minimal special effects.
Even the transformations are done in such a way that it's more art than it is effect.
Absolutely. And the costumes in this, I said that very loudly. The costumes.
Passionately. You just said it very passionately.
In this movie look great.
Yes.
You watch some of these movies and you see the chainmail and you go, what are they getting at? You see the chainmail in this and you're like, I'm in.
And even when he did stuff that was different than history would have allowed, it didn't look bad.
Yeah.
Like when he made Rutger Hauer's night helmet does not look like any night helmet I've ever seen before.
Never seen anything like that.
But it's a cool design.
Yeah. Right? I have a question. Can I ask you a question?
Talk to me.
We did a Knight Riders pod. How would Ed Harris have done in Rutger Hauer's place?
So I think he would have been good. I think he would have killed it clearly, but I think he would have played a better bishop.
Yeah, I see that.
Like let him be the villain and really just chew it up.
Yeah, eat the scenery.
Yeah. And
this is the one movie I'm happy Kurt Russell didn't do.
No, exactly. Like, well, here's the thing. Kurt Russell, 2019. Oh yeah, I give him that role. Yeah. Kurt Russell, 85. No, he's too smiley.
Those baby blues.
Too smiley.
Yeah.
Don't need that right now. But like, if Kurt Russell did like a gritty retelling of this tale now, I'm in.
What about Backdraft, Kurt Russell?
Backdraft, Kurt Russell could have done a good job.
Sorry.
Backdraft. No. The best Kurt Russell for this would have been Breakdown Kurt Russell.
Oh, yeah. Hands down. Breakdown, hands down.
Breakdown. I think that was a movie that I went and saw because nothing else was playing. And I was like, this is actually kind of enjoyable.
How old were you?
When Breakdown came out, I was in high school because I went with, like, there was a bunch of girls that were like, let's go to the movies. And I was like, okay. And then that was all that was playing. So I was like, let's go see the Escape from New York guy.
I love it. Now, I'm hijacking everything you're trying to say. So were you trying to make a bigger point about Rutger Hauer here that I just keep hijacking?
No, that's what we do.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that, like, so much of my childhood was watching Richard Donner and Rutger Hauer movies. So like Superman, The Goonies, Lethal Weapon. When I got into like the like early teens, I was really into the Omen movies.
Timeline,
that kind of stuff. But Rutger Hauer just always showed up. So like, I remember watching Nighthawks a lot when I was in, like, it was on TBS a lot. That was him and Stallone, were the cops. Have you seen that?
No.
Oh, you got to watch Nighthawks. It's fantastic. And then, of course, Blade Runner, right? And then Ladyhawke, Flesh and Blood. Hitcher, right? Blind Fury, where he played the blind guy. I talked about that one quite a bit.
Yep.
So he was just kind of always there, and I really love what he was doing. And
what was it about him that you liked so much? So with Kurt Russell, I like his unselfishness in roles. If that makes sense. Like Big Trouble in Little China, he wasn't the hero, and I kind of like that blue collar mentality. Or Bruce Campbell, I've always loved because he's just a B movie guy. So
right. Rutger Hauer, I always thought was a guy who said a lot without saying anything. Like when he's quiet, he sends the message. Like he is able to act that when he doesn't say something, you understand exactly what's going on.
Got it.
It's all in his face. It's all in his eyes. It's all in what he does. Right. But then he had this like resurgence in like the late 90s with like Sin City and Batman.
Yep.
Batman Begins and all that kind of stuff. And he's always been kind of there. And then he did like Hobo with a Shotgun, and he just showed up. And like my favorite show of all time is Smallville, and he plays a big part in Smallville for a few seasons. Oh, he's just always there. I just always loved him. Yeah, he played Morgan Edge, I think. He was like Lex Luthor's like arch villain or like competitor or whatever.
How terrible it'd be to work for a guy named Morgan Edge in a fictional world. Like,
I don't even want to work for Morgan Edge submarine sandwiches. I would just not work there.
That name just sounds too slimy. He's up to something.
It does. It really does. But Ladyhawke, also came from a time when I didn't own a VCR yet, and my aunt down the road did. And so when she would go to we had this place in Nippigan where I grew up called the Plaza, which had a single screen movie theater, but also was our video rental place. You walked in, it was a video rental place where you could buy a ticket and go in the back and watch a movie. It was amazing.
Yeah.
And so they would go down there, and if they rented a movie and it was good, they would then call us down the next day to watch it before they returned it.
Oh.
So like they rent a movie on a Friday night, and then if it was a good movie, they'd call and say, hey, why don't you come down and watch this movie with us on Saturday afternoon? And so Ladyhawke was one of those movies. And I remember it blowing my mind as a 7-year-old kid.
And it was so much. So from what I started looking into 1980s fantasy movies. And during that time, this movie really kind of stands apart from its, the other fantasy films that were floating around in that time. If you kind of think
about like Legend.
Yeah, so like I guess we'll start at 81. You have like Clash of the Titans, then you have Excalibur, right? And Time Bandits. Then you move into Beastmaster, Conan the Barbarian. The kind of like very large men swinging swords, cheeky Terry Gilliam, Excalibur, just larger than life, based on a legend, that kind of stuff.
Excalibur was also it was rated R, was it not?
Oh well, R wasn't yet. Oh no, R was yet. So yeah, I guess it was.
PG-13 wasn't.
Yeah, that was 80. That was after Gremlins. So it was like 85, 86. Yeah. So yeah, Conan the Barbarian, Dark Crystal. Then you moved into even the animated film, Secret of Nim. Jeez Louise.
Yeah.
Then you move into movies.
When did like Fire and Ice?
That was 83, and that was Kroll that year. Also came out. Right. So you kind of you're moving towards these. 84 was Conan the Destroyer. Then you had Never-Ending Story. So you kind of had these movies opening up. But the interesting thing, like 85, listen to this though. 85 was Black Cauldron, Brazil, Dungeon Master, Ewoks, Battle for Endor, Ladyhawke, Legend, like Return to Oz, Red Sonja. So there were so many movies that came out that year. But Ladyhawke differentiates itself from all of those because it's a much more quiet. Oh, except for Matthew Broderick's talking, but I love that. Now,
it's so good.
But it's different than all of these. It's not the wiping lots of people out. I mean, there's death, but there's not much death. It's a character piece. It's a love story. So a lot of these movies.
I think every death.
What's up?
Sorry, go ahead.
And it's a little bit more gentle, right? Like Legend had some mean.
Yes. And like you said, there's no just like body count. I felt like every death here was heavy at some point in time.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. Like when Michelle Pfeiffer kills Alfred Molina, which was awesome. When the dog murders that guy who's trying to murder Matthew Broderick. So there's not death to the extreme in this film. And you also have this love story. You have a very different type of leading man in Rutger Hauer. Now, I've been saying Rutger Hauer for years, so I'm just trying to, if I slow down when I say his name, get that. So it's very patient. It's the score by Alan Parsons
is bananas.
It is not Tangerine Dream, that's for sure. But it's
bananas in the best way.
Yeah, I wouldn't lie if when that score came on the first time, I was like, yeah, I was going with it. I was making moves. So
yeah, like it's so bold. Just like when it starts, dun, 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 you're like, here we go. Like this is something's happening right now.
And it ends with a excellently choreographed sword fight with swords that feel heavy, with guys that are at the peak of their training. I have the choreographer down here somewhere. I have so many notes about this movie. Also, that's how it ends. I mean, this movie ends with two people fighting each other. And it's a really different. I can see how it didn't do well.
No, it lost money.
Yeah, but I can see that. And but I think that's why maybe it's aged well, because that church that they fought in at the end, the cathedral, they built that. Obviously you can't. So from a production standpoint, sorry if I'm mansplaining production, you can't go into a old cathedral, remove the pews. I mean, the floors are probably ancient relics. You have so many different areas. You can't control the lights. You can't do anything. So they built that massive cathedral so that the cinematographer who did Last Emperor, Apocalypse Now, Bird with the Crystal Plumage, Last Tango in Paris, Dick Tracy, Vittorio Storaro could light it all to his any whim.
Right.
Imagine being in that set, dude.
is known for not cutting corners when it comes to production value.
No, yeah, no
Right? We look
corners
at how
were cut.
when he did Superman, he kept going over budget, and he kept saying, "Yeah, but that's what we got to do."
Exactly. Yeah. I want this to look good. And so you're watching
Right.
this, and the outfits, the set dressing, the production design. The poor guy who produced the production design on this, though, he got a little pigeonholed, because you're gonna love this. He went on to do Last of the Mohicans. He did the TV
Yes,
show
did.
Black Sails. Now get this. This is why I think you picked this. He did Reign of Fire and the 13th Warrior, which are two more of our podcasts that you and I have done.
Yes.
So now I'm starting to notice a pattern, Adam,
Yeah,
from
we
our
just like
picking of
awesome
movies.
stuff.
Yeah, so he did Three Musketeers, First Blood, this Wolf Kroger. I mean, he did a beautiful job designing this. But when I talk about movies like Crimson Peak, which I really enjoy, but it's a $60 million gothic romance disguised as a horror film. You have other movies where they have big budgets, but I'm not quite sure who they expected the audience to be, if that makes sense.
Yes.
So
this felt for me, when you're talking about the audience, I feel like all those fantasy, medieval, barbarian movies that came out for a very specific audience. And that was like boys mainly from the age of like 12 to 18, kind of in that realm. And I felt like this was a movie that those guys could take their girlfriends to.
Yeah. They should have, right? They should have promoted this as a love story.
Yes.
Not
100%.
an action picture. Because, I don't know, they don't even introduce Michelle Pfeiffer until, 40 minutes in.
So, as a 7-8-year-old child watching this for the first time, not knowing what it was just called Ladyhawke. There's this movie called Ladyhawke, you gotta watch it. So we sit down to watch it. I distinctly remember when she transformed into Michelle Pfeiffer for the first time, like I was expecting a Conan the Barbarian kind of movie, and what I got was, I'm like, what is going? And it blew my mind. That I was like, wait a minute, that guy's a wolf and that lady's a hawk.
Your expectations weren't tampered by, or hurt by you had expectations, and when you found out it wasn't what you expected, you loved it. You didn't hate it.
Yeah. No, it wasn't. It swerved me, and I was like, "Oh, this is maybe better than it was." I remember thinking it's creative. It's something different.
Yeah. No, and it is. And the score. Donner said he still loves it because people years ago he said he loves it because people still talk about it, which I dig. And hey, remember how I said it was like a 7 the first time I saw it? I thought it was a nice distraction. I was really pleasantly surprised by some of the characters. I ended up really liking Imperius. I thought he had I thought he was just he had a good, I like how that happened, but I read this interesting article by Tor. Mm-hmm. And in the article, the author, she wrote, Ladyhawke was released in 1985 as part of that decade's wonderful fantasy boom. But Ladyhawke doesn't behave like a typical 80s fantasy movie, or a modernized fairy tale, or even a fairy tale subversion, let alone a heroic quest or coming-of-age tale. So it's not like a typical 80s fantasy movie like Conan. It's not a modernized fairy tale like Splash. It's not a fairy tale subversion like Princess Bride. It's not a heroic quest like a Beastmaster, or it's not like a coming-of-age like a Legend or a Labyrinth. No one comes of age. There's no big battles. Which I thought was cool. And also I read something really neat. And it's that she was writing about Michelle Pfeiffer. And if you don't mind me reading this, I'll get this.
No, you go for it.
So the author, she wrote, Isabel? Yeah, Isabel has lived essentially alone for 3 years, or to state it more plainly, every night Isabel wakes up naked and alone in a forest, dresses herself, defends herself, and hunts for rabbits for her meals, while tending an enormous horse and keeping an eye on the giant wolf, who is fully a wolf. Remember, and could wander into trouble at any time. She has done this for 3 solid years at the start of the film. So when a real threat comes in, the film gives us a quick fake-out before trampling a particular annoying fairy tale convention. When Caesar first finds Isabeau and Philippe, Caesar is the wolf hunter, played by Alfred Molina. She's like, it is the boy who brandishes Navarre's sword, telling the villain, if you lay a hand on her, you'll find it on the ground next to your head, which is amazing.
Yes.
And then she's like, Caesar, however, is not impressed, since Philippe almost collapses from the weight of the sword, and laughs at him before riding on. A second later is Isabeau, who comes charging out on Goliath. She stalks Caesar through the forest, using all the stealth she's learned in her years of isolation to track him. When Navarre's wolf form turns up, growling at Caesar, Isabeau exploits the huntman's moment of distraction to kick him into his own wolf trap. She stands over him and watches him convulse until she's sure he's dead. No pity, no fear, no squeamishness. So I read this article, right? Because I always do a ton of research. As random as we get, I do way too much research. And then I watched it again. I'm like, I love this movie. I really dug it. And
yes.
I thought that was a neat, interesting article that she wrote about this film.
It's a neat perspective on it, that's for sure.
So, I mean, I guess you don't see that much in those days. You do have the squeamishness. You have the guy saving the day. And I found it refreshing that she murdered. Oh, I gotta say one thing. So in the very beginning, Matthew Broderick escapes from a prison that no one ever has escaped from. Philippe is played by Matthew Broderick.
Because nothing is impossible, Mouse. Nothing is impossible.
I love it. And they call him Mouse because he steals everything. He's a pickpocket and he's tiny. And I like that he's constantly talking to God, which I enjoyed. But I gotta tell you, when this distracted me the first time we watched it. In the movie, he sneaks past 2 apple-eating guards who aren't guarding anything. They're just chatting and laughing. And it got me thinking that that's you and me. If we were guards together, we would have to be separated.
Yeah, no, we would guard nothing. I want us to be cast as those guards in the Kurt Russell gritty remake of this movie.
I would love it because we would just. All right, so we're in the medieval ages, so you and I would probably be talking about the performers that we saw the night before putting on a stage adaptation of the Iliad. I don't know, whatever.
Exactly.
So you and I are just kind of talking about it. We're breaking down the moments. We're not overly critical. We're just kind of riffing on the themes on all that kind of stuff. We're not particularly bawdy. We're just more about chatting and like eating apples obnoxiously. Like these 2 guys are eating apples horribly. So I wouldn't put up with that. But if we worked for the horrible man who sold his soul to Satan, the John Wood, the bishop.
Yeah, the bishop.
So if we worked for him, I would work with you for a day, and then I would go to the prison guard and be like, hey, dude's great. Can I get positioned over to the other side because the sun's in my eye, blah, 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 blah. So you would get mad at me, but if we messed up, we'd die. So I think it would be uncomfortable for a while. Cause dude, man, you're not talking to me anymore, but I would do it. So we lived. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah. Cause we don't want to die. I thought one of the coolest things, you're not wrong. I would sneak over there, like, Mark, did you see when they did? Did you see what they did at the play last night? And you're like, dude, get out of here. I'm like, but it was Gilgamesh. They did, and you're like, I saw it. Go.
The costumes were great, man.
Right? We would commit to it.
And while you snuck over, someone would escape from prison.
Right. They would, 100%. And they would go and they would find a man with a short sword and then a really big sword and a double crossbow.
That crossbow was amazing, by the way.
Right? As a kid, I was like, and he flipped. I just thought it was the coolest thing.
And the free running. So Matthew Broderick escapes. Philippe escapes, and he goes and he starts bragging. I love the thing when he goes, a drink of your most expensive, bartender, and the bartender goes, yeah, right, which I thought was funny. And then he wants to toast everybody, but turns out the guards are there to get him. And Matthew Broderick starts free running. He is under, up, over, on, ducking, dipping, dodging, diving, dipping.
So was this pre Ferris Bueller?
Mm-hmm. Post-war games, pre Ferris Bueller.
So he was still kind of figuring out what he was going to be as an actor.
Yeah.
Right? And lots of guys got typecast in these kind of roles. Like Schwarzenegger for a while was typecast as like the barbarian, right?
Yep.
So he might have been, I don't know. I just think he was trying to figure out what he was doing. So I don't think anything was off the table for him. He just seemed really boldly acting in this movie.
I mean, he made decisions.
And it's an interesting part because he's not the leading man, but he has every scene with the leading lady till the very end shot.
Yeah. I mean,
right?
they're dancing.
I can't think of another movie where the leading man and the leading lady are never in the same shot together.
Someone brought up a point. They said, so I watched a video by Joe Blow. There's only 2 videos I could find on this movie. Joe Blow was saying it's kind of underrated, and he didn't appreciate that they're kept apart the entire movie. So when they finally get together, you kind of think, well, I have no connection. And then I watched another clip where someone suggested there should have been a flashback where their love, and then Willow, there's a flashback where they they put the baby out. they should have had the two of them running away, expressing their love, and then the curse.
Right.
Do you think that would have helped?
Well,
I didn't care. I didn't care.
I didn't see it as a problem.
Yeah.
And I think, with this movie, with the grounded nature of his effects and visuals, I think just telling us there was a curse, our mind shows that first transformation better than Donner could have.
Yeah.
Like I think I've said it before. My favorite thing about a good movie is understanding the rules of the world and like the unspoken history of that world. And so I love this. Like there was this very interesting history that happened with these two characters and then the bishop and all these things going on, and just kind of leaving that to my own imagination to fill in the blanks. I love that stuff.
Right. And now you love this movie so much. I also listened to Siskel and Ebert's review. They both gave it thumbs up. Ebert praised the production design. Siskel liked it, but he said he wishes that the humor of Matthew Broderick hadn't been there as much. And then Ebert's like, there's humor back then. Like they started arguing, and then Siskel's like, oh, you're doing that face. But did you think the humor of Broderick was a little too much in this film?
No, I think it's one of the things that sets it apart from the other fantasy movies at the time, where Donner was like, no, we got to have humor in this movie. Like it's got to hit those notes. And the closest thing to humor most others got was maybe like a one-liner, or like again, like a movie like The Never-Ending Story, where you put kids in this fantasy world, but the stakes are so high for this kid.
Horribly.
Right? Like it's this movie is way more like fantastical, I think, than Never-Ending Story, because it's like the world is collapsing around him in that movie, and there's no time to smile. And this movie, Matthew Broderick, because he's a teenager, because he's hanging out with the most beautiful woman he's ever seen in his life, he has time to smile, even though he's running from the law, like he's running for his life. It's almost like he's not aware of how big the quest he's on for a while.
No, that's interesting, because he doesn't realize he's on a quest until about 51 minutes in.
Right. Well, exactly.
And that's another interesting angle to it.
Yeah. No, and they don't see Rutger Hauer for the first 15 minutes. Like Donner takes his time with this movie, milking it.
I think he just loved the world, because he went back to it with Timeline, which I need to watch again, because they say trebuchet a lot, and I like that. But I think he enjoyed. I also think the introduction of the characters is very smart. So you immediately learn that we have a thief, right? Like we have a thief who's played by Matthew Broderick, who's good at escaping places, and everyone knows him in the castle. So hey, he's good. Then we know that he's notorious because everyone wants that. And then we also know that the bad guy is a bad guy. Like that dude is. How many collars does he wear?
It's a lot of collars, bro.
6.
It's a lot. It's a lot of collars.
Would you wear 6 collars?
No, I'm. It's rare to find me wearing one collar.
And oddly enough, we have talked about wearing 3 collars.
Yeah, 3 turtlenecks.
Everything's coming back here, man.
No, this is not by chance. This is happening.
But I also like his speech when Matthew Broderick tells Hauer, there are strange forces at work in your life, magical ones that surround you. I don't understand them, but they frighten me. You have given me my life. The truth is, I can never repay you. I have no honor, and never will have. I don't think you would kill me for being what I am, but better that than return to Aquila. The bishop is so right, Aquila. I was gonna spell it out phonetically before I got into this, and I forgot to. But that's a good speech too.
No, 100%. 100% is a great speech. There's good stuff in here. I love that Navarre used to be the chief of the guards, and
they still kind of like him a little. They respect him.
Yeah, there's still like when push comes to shove, like we like you better than our current captain. Is the drive I'm getting. Yeah,
we can't take you back, and you wouldn't come back, but we miss you.
Yeah. When you said you love that Mouse talks to God all the time, I love the quote where he says, "Sir, the truth is I talk to God all the time, and no offense, he's never mentioned you."
Yeah, I love that line. And if you think, I don't like when characters just speak to themselves. So, I know this is really random, but in the Friday the 13th remake, there's a character just talking to himself. Like there's so many characters just talking to themselves. And that would never happen. But this is a guy who has spent a lot of time alone, a lot of time on the run, maybe a lot of time in prison. He's obviously a loner, so he talks to God out loud. And that makes sense to me as a character that he would be speaking out loud constantly because he's talking to someone. He's not just narrating for a dumb audience.
Exactly. It's not just the inner monologue like, you would get in a comic book that kind of does that. It wouldn't make sense to say it out loud, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I think everything he said, I was like, oh, I get it. It's cool. That makes sense. All right. So, music. Tell me about the music in this. Do you have the soundtrack? You can buy a CD. There's still some left.
I had a copy of the soundtrack when I was in high school. It was one of the things where I got my first car and it had a tape deck in it. And so you went to like the thrift store and looked through all the cassettes because it was all CD at that point in time. And I remember on the same day I found the soundtrack for Ghostbusters 2, Ladyhawke, and Beverly Hills Cop 3.
Was that the greatest day of your life?
Well, here's the thing. Everybody else had like music that was popular at the time in their cars. When people got in my car, they're like, "What are we listening to?" And I'd be like, "Well," and before podcasting was a thing, I would just start riffing on movies. Yep. People in my car, like, what you're hearing right now is the soundtrack to Ladyhawke, directed by Richard Donner. And again, Mark, we came from a time. I was reminiscing about this today because I was going through an old box of stuff and I found my Blockbuster card. You know what I loved about the VHS era?
What's that?
Was that it was pre-internet, right? So you couldn't like say, okay, I like Rutger Hauer. What else has he been in? That database didn't exist. But you'd go into the video store and then you go to the section that was not the new releases, and it was like an archaeological hunt. You'd go and you would look and you'd see just the cover of a box and right up in the back and say, I don't know what this is, but I'm going to take a stab at it. And you would put your money on the table, and that was your evening's entertainment. So sometimes now you'll start streaming a movie in 3 minutes, and you're like, this hasn't got my fancy. I'll see what else I can find. That was never the case. You were committed to watch the movie.
You had to, because you can't go back to the video store and spend more money.
No, you don't make another trip into town. It is what it is, but you found gold you never thought you'd find again.
Mm-hmm.
And so this was to me that this is that era. And, I miss that. But again, you'd see crazy soundtracks and you'd see like off the wall stuff. But this soundtrack, it's, I think, what sets this movie apart from any other fantasy movie from the 80s.
Just that. Oh man. How do you explain it?
It's like a synthesizer symphony is what I would explain it as.
Yeah. Someone said if you just listen to it by itself, it's better than with the movie.
Yeah, they might not be wrong.
I mean, if someone argues against the synth score on this, I feel like it's a bit like picking low-hanging fruit. I wouldn't argue with them. That'd be a great argument, by the way. You know what? I would argue with them because I want to argue about 1985 synth soundtrack. But I get it, right? The complaints against it, but it feels too easy.
Yeah, and again, I think the complaints about it were just like, this doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
You mean that this doesn't? I don't like this. What was the movie with Rainn Wilson where he played the superhero?
The Rock. Oh, Super. No.
Super. Yeah. Super.
Oh, brother, that movie.
But I remember watching it the first time and being like, this doesn't feel right. Like, I don't feel like this is how you're supposed to make a movie.
James Gunn.
Right? But it was so like brutal. It was so like different than anything I'd seen. That was again on kind of the beginning of the renaissance of the superhero film where they were like, and I just felt like this doesn't feel, I don't like this. Watching it again, there's some good stuff in the movie. There's some misses, but there's some good stuff there. But I think the initial watch, it was so jarringly different from anything I'd seen before. I was like, and I think that's what, because like you said, as Ladyhawke, the title is coming across the screen, you get hit with this synth punch to the face. It just goes.
Yeah. We'll have to play. We'll find it on YouTube when we come back from the break, and we'll just kind of play it.
Yeah.
We just got to have people hearing this thing. Or, you know what? Go on YouTube, just type in Ladyhawke score, and have the best moment of your day.
100%.
No, but I get what you're saying. That when you're watching a movie, sometimes you're like, something about this doesn't feel right.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, the score wasn't enough to make me think that. So,
sorry.
I just took it as the 80s because I had just watched Near Dark, right? Tangerine Dream score. We had done, Young Guns. We have a podcast coming out about that. they recorded a traditional score for that movie. And then when they realized no one wanted to hear that, they recorded a rock score.
Yeah, they got Bon Jovi to do it.
For the sequel. But the first one, they completely redid with different generic rock. So I had just gone through Young Guns. I had just gone through Near Dark. So maybe it was just the timing in which I watched this movie, but it felt much more normal to me.
Well, the same thing happened with Legend, right? They had a traditional soundtrack to it, and then they got Tangerine Dream to do it.
Yep. I love Sorcerer, dude. You know, Friedkin found him for 77's Sorcerer.
Really?
Friedkin was like, I want Tangerine Dream. So they did the score for Sorcerer. And he's like, if I would have known them beforehand, they would have done Exorcist.
Oh, so Yanni has a bunch of videos of him playing Ladyhawke's theme live.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
That's amazing. All right, send me I'll put that up on MFF Facebook.
Okay, I'll send you a link.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Yikes.
All right, so how about this? Let's take a break. Let's listen to that. When we come back, we'll talk more Ladyhawke. Welcome back to Movies, Films, and Flicks. And Adam is currently in duck form. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Funny enough, when I'm in duck form, my voice doesn't change. Just my headset that I'm wearing fits way more awkwardly. Yeah. So you said maybe we could wait, but we're both old. We can't stay up till past 11. No, I was like, I gotta get going on here.
I can't wait for you to deduck.
No, my wife and I actually, right before we podcast, finished a season of Sons of Anarchy, and it left us on a cliffhanger.
Oh, and so
she was like, we got to finish this we got to resolve this cliffhanger tonight. And I was like, don't worry, we'll be fine.
All right, we'll get moving. I just want to say thank you for moving on in duck form, by the way. I appreciate it.
Whatever's best for the pod. I think I'm going to release a podcast only while I'm in duck form and call it the Pondcast.
Oh my gosh.
That's a good pun, right? That's a good pun.
The Pondcast? Oh, for sure.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Oh,
so
man.
I want to say, though, like, I love how excited you are about this movie. Like, we're tripping over each other a little bit tonight because we both have so much to say about it and so much, like, love for it. But every time I recommend you a movie, I don't know how it's going to go because it's the same feeling you get when you set two friends up on a blind date. Where you're like, oh, if this works out well, I'll probably be the best man at the wedding. If it doesn't, they'll probably both never talk to me again. Right? So there's when you recommend a movie to Mark, you're like, I hope this isn't jade him of my opinion of movies. Like, I hope that this isn't the one that breaks the deal. So the fact that you're this excited about this movie makes my heart feel good. You know what I mean?
I think the toughest one we had was Youngblood, and that turned out pretty good because I ended up liking the movie. But it was streaming nowhere, so I had to buy a 4-pack of Swayze movies.
I made you buy 4 Swayze films.
Yeah, which is awesome. But I already owned like 2 of them. But it was the same price to get 4. So I just like, all right, well, I guess I'll do this. But then I tried to like watch clips on it, but there's no clips about that movie. So that was the toughest one to do.
Was Youngblood the same year as Ladyhawke?
Was Youngblood 85?
I think so.
Jeez,
One second.
How could do you think Rob Lowe could have been good as Gaston?
I think he could have been good as Gaston.
Youngblood's 86.
86. Okay. So not the same year, but sort of the same year.
I got to tell you something. Matthew Broderick is a good runner, if you think about it.
So I saw a young Mel Gibson in his run.
Ooh, how was that?
Well, like when he was running, like Mel Gibson to me has the most intense. We've argued about this before, or no, we've discussed this before, that you're a Tom Cruise running guy. And I think that Mel Gibson has the best run in Hollywood, or did.
Oh no, my Tom Cruise isn't my favorite on-screen runner. I think he's one of the best, but it's just so pronounced when he runs. If that makes sense.
Yes.
There's another runner. You're putting me on the spot here, but there's I'm really flustered right now. But I think.
I'm sorry.
I think I thought Keanu Reeves was a very good runner.
Right.
There's another. Oh man, there's another runner. Oh, we'll talk about it in the next pod. But if you think about Broderick, right? Ferris Bueller, great running in that. This movie, great running.
Great running.
Godzilla, he has a very weird run. Election, he's just running around a track.
It's a very weird movie.
Yeah, he's just running around a track. Matthew Broderick has done a lot more running in movies than people think.
Do you think it's one of those situations where the director's like, hey, for your character, what's the thing you're good at that we can put into the movie? And he's like, well, I can run.
He has a very distinct run, Matthew Broderick.
Because that's why a lot of John Cusack movies, he's also a kickboxer just by, like, you know, hobby.
And he fights his trainer in 1408 in Grosse Pointe Blank.
Yes.
He just keeps bringing that guy into movies.
Yep.
We're on the same wavelengths, man. I should have let you finish your sentence, but I just knew exactly where you were going.
No, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, so I think that he was like, hey, what can you do, Matthew Broderick? And he's like, well, I'm an excellent runner. Let me show off what I got. It's like, you know what it's like? It's I'm gonna sound ridiculous doing this right now, but Taylor Lautner.
Yeah.
You know how he does that like spin breakdance kicky thing?
Yeah.
He does that in every movie he's in. He did it because he got the Shark Boy and Lava Girl role because he did that in his audition tape. And Rodriguez was like, I like that. And he does it in everything he does now.
Yeah, every movie. The Wolf does it when he turns into one.
Right. And I'll say this. I will take a Rutger Hauer wolf in a dogfight way over top of a Taylor Lautner wolf.
Because the Taylor Lautner wolf doesn't seem out to straight up murder. I feel like Rutger Hauer wolf is just throat.
Want to know why? Because every throat is the throat in the way of Isabeau.
That's right. Yeah, he'll do whatever.
One throat closer.
She's seen him do some weird stuff.
Right. I wonder if they did an anniversary showing of this movie, if it would do well.
Oh, man. It would have a very small, dedicated group. Because the amount of research I do, there's not much on this. If this movie was beloved, right, it would have many more articles.
Mm-hmm. But is it puzzling to you that it's not beloved?
Well, because here's the thing, though. Like, it doesn't have the swoon factor, right?
No.
I mean, Rutger is good, but he doesn't have the Tom Cruise swoon. It doesn't have.
He was originally to be the villain. He was supposed to be the bishop.
Yeah, and Mad Dog Russell was in it.
And Russell, but he just like quit like 3 days before the movie started filming.
And then
so they're like,
Rutger drove there in 2 days. Did you know that?
No, he drove there in 2 days in a custom made like motorhome he made out of a semi truck.
And he told everyone he was driving it, and they didn't believe him. And when he showed up, they were mad at him.
But he converted an 18-wheeler into a motorhome and then drove it from Holland to France or wherever they filmed this place.
Yeah, that's why he's such a weirdo, and I love it, right?
Yeah.
He's a very eclectic man. But right. So this movie doesn't have the A-list name, right?
No.
It didn't flop. It didn't flop enough to. It didn't make its money back. Yeah. And so, like, it's not a movie that made $1 million on a $20 million budget. It made like 19. So It didn't make its money back, but it didn't flop. So it won't ever make the flop list where people are saying that. Critics liked it. So it's not
nominated for 2 Oscars.
Yep, sound and sound editing.
Yeah.
And it's okay. So critics liked it. So if it had like an 8%, people would be like, "Oh, that's bullcrap." But it has a fresh rating, so people can't complain about that. But it doesn't have a 100% rating to put it at the top of lists. So, and then also the way Richard Donner did it with his verisimilitude.
Verisimilitude. That's my word, baby.
His dedication to realness. So the fight is not particularly bloody. There's no lamentations of women. There's no crushing of foes. There's no R-rated nudity. There is there's no really random young blood sex scene. There's no decapitations. There's really no shirtless scenes. It's just a nice love story. So I think by being what it is, it's not gonna grow a massive cult. If that makes sense.
Right, so what was that movie with
Kramer vs. Kramer?
Yeah, Kramer vs. Kramer. No, with Christopher Reeve and where he goes back in time to be with Dr. Quinn Medicine Woman.
What? I've never heard of that.
Yeah, Somewhere in Time. There's a movie called Somewhere in Time. And it's like he goes back in time to hang out with Jane Seymour by looking at a penny. And it's like this kind of weird movie. It's got like a 61% rating on Rotten Tomatoes, but there's a society that like it's like a Somewhere in Time.
It's a love story though, right? So
it's a love story, but there's like a whole group of people that just go around watching that movie in places where it happened.
I guess that would be hard in Italy.
Yeah, but there's this group of people that love that movie so much. And I'm just surprised there isn't some kind of fan group for Ladyhawke. Like, maybe I'm just being nostalgic because when I watched it, it kind of blew my mind, and I don't know. It hit me right in the feels, I guess. But I think this movie is better than most that came out this year, like in '85.
I'm in agreement. I just think it's on that level where it's not a classic, and it's just a good movie. Does that make sense? It's just a good movie. Everyone thought it was a good movie.
Would you say this fits in the same slot as like a Willow?
No, because Willow has the Mad Mardigan. It has the special effects. It has the brownies. It has the CGI. It has the dragons, the blood, the battles, the scary imagery. It also was a kind of a bigger flop, and critics didn't really like it. But since then, it's built up this cult. So I don't think it's on the line of Willow in that regards. I think the two would make it. I don't know if the two would even make a nice back-to-back combo.
You wouldn't buy the double DVD of Ladyhawke and Willow?
Oh, I would do that in an instant. I'm just saying, like, screening them together. Like, you have poop falling on people's faces in Willow. You have just bonkers imagery.
Yeah, it is a bit of a more of a cheeky movie.
Yeah, and this one,
I don't know.
I'm sorry if I'm bursting your bubble. I don't want you thinking that I don't like it less.
I just think in a world where, we have these groups of people that just like get together and like watch Monty Python in costume all the time, that there would be some kind of fan base for Ladyhawke.
I mean, look on Facebook. Is there a Ladyhawke group?
I'm looking right now in real time.
All right, right now in real time
on Facebook. And what do we got? Ladyhawke Fitness.
I'm assuming they'll be like in the fives, like at 14,000.
No, there's nothing.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well then. So this movie.
There's Ladyhawke Fitness.
Yep.
And that's it.
I think this movie is just a good movie that wasn't. Maybe they could have done more with it, but at the end of the day, it's I don't know. So yeah, that's my kind of thoughts on it.
Yeah.
But I also don't have the strength of nostalgia that you have. I didn't see this until a few weeks ago.
Right. Which again, I think is a cool way. I love when I can say to you, "Hey, what have you seen this?" And you're like, "No, I've never seen that movie," and then I get to hear your response to it. So like Knight Riders was one, Youngblood was one, Ladyhawke was one. I like when that happens, Mark. That's maybe my favorite thing.
I went on to another podcast called the Forgotten Filmcast, and I talked about Knight Riders there too.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Amazing.
I loved it. And so this movie though, it also got me thinking about crossbows, and I started thinking about my favorite like arrow moments or crossbow moments, because his crossbow is amazing. I would have to say my favorite archery moments are Hot Shots Part 2, where he shoots the guy with the chicken.
Yep.
I mean, that's brilliant. And
on the nose. Oh,
and also, before I forget, the guy who did the choreography for this movie is William Hobbs. He also did Willow and The Duelist, which is a very good Ridley Scott movie. And then he did The Count of Monte Cristo with Guy Pearce and Homeboy.
Count of Monte Cristo.
And Frequency.
Count of Monte Cristo was my first date with my wife.
Oh, nice.
It's a great first date movie.
Oh, it's so good. But the sword fights in that film. Now, I have another question.
So good.
The final battle scene at the end, I really dug when, they're fighting, and we haven't even talked about the curse. Like breaking the curse with solar eclipses, and if he kills the priest who made a deal with the devil, they'll be stuck like that forever. But then something happens, and then he thinks she's dead because she gets an arrow, but then he's mad and he goes and fights anyway with the help of Gaston. But
and the hidden sword under the wagon.
But huge sword, gigantic, and he throws it like it's nothing. That's the one part I didn't like. There's a scene where
if he would have spun the sword, like threw it and it flipped into him, you can't throw a sword like a spear.
Yeah, and it wasn't even the right angle. So he threw it straight into a tree, which meant he must have been ducking when he threw it. It didn't work. But the fight at the end is it's not brutal, but you can feel that they're both getting tired swinging these swords. And
it's very visceral.
Yeah, very visceral. And there's a time when the guy he's fighting, was it Ken Hutchinson? What's up?
Yeah, that was him.
Yeah, he takes this fall into a wall. Oh, that rhymed. And I went, oof, that hurt. And then they were just swinging it. But all the swings, it was obviously choreographed, right?
Okay, so here's a question for you.
Yeah.
Who do you think got hurt more? Ken Hutchinson falling into a wall, or Samwise Gamgee in Icebreaker in the kitchen fight.
Oh, Samwise Gamgee. So Hutchinson would never. There's no fear on his face when he hit the wall. So listen. If you and I get trucked and we keep a very stoic face, you and I get hit at the same time. We both get up and we're like, "You good? Yeah. You good? Yeah." We're both gonna know that we're hurt, but we're not showing it. Samwise Gamgee and an Icebreaker, which is another one of our episodes. Samwise Gamgee gets throttled. Like, he has the look of absolute fear, and he got hurt in that.
Yeah,
so
that,
I'm thinking
that hurt him.
Sean Astin got destroyed. Hutchinson's just this old, manly man's British guy, so I'm fine.
You know what I loved as a kid, and I still love every time I watch this movie, which is more often than it should be? Horses fighting in a church.
Oh, dude, Goliath.
Right?
What a great horse.
Are big horses. Those are big Dutch horses.
I love a big Dutch horse.
So Rutger Hauer was Dutch, and he wanted to have a Dutch horse in this movie.
Gigantic
because that breed of horses is huge.
Yep.
But very mobile, right? Like it was the preferred horse of many medieval knights, actually.
And I guess that movie brought in a craze of those horses being used in movies.
Yes.
And also
it ushered in.
Yeah. Oh, sorry to jump on your horse. That horse fight was legit too. But they built that set for it. That's another great reason why that set is so cool.
Yeah, because you can't just bring two horses into a church and have them fight.
Yeah, I love it. No. Normally I don't like it when people wear hoods. When you watch movies, hoodies, they're meant to signify someone being tough, right?
Yeah.
But hoods should only be worn as, it's raining or like a statement. They shouldn't just be worn because you think you're cool.
Or if you're going to start a rap battle, you put your hood up.
Yeah, exactly. So this one, when Rutger Hauer's wearing a hood, I was like, he makes that work. He's one of the few people who wears an unnecessary hood and makes it work.
So here's the guys you can get away with wearing hoods like that. Are you ready for this?
Yeah.
Rutger Hauer and Jedis. That's it.
Oh, good point. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, and there's a Star Wars connection here because they said that this TV show Rebels with Ezra and the two lead men in that show, their relationship was based on Rutger Hauer and Matthew Broderick in this movie.
Oh, sounds really?
Yeah, because he was like an old Jedi that was like training a young pickpocket to be like streetwise, and it's based right on Ladyhawke.
Oh, that's cool.
Which makes me feel really good in the heart.
I mean, maybe they need to lean into that more,
right?
Now,
more Ladyhawke references.
Now, what did you think about? We haven't talked about much, but Imperius. What did you think about Imperius? Like, he screwed over the duo. That's why they're cursed, because the jerk summoned Satan and turned them into a hawk. So she's a hawk during the day, he's a wolf at night. So, but right. I liked he studied everything about it, and he really was kind of drinking himself to death. And Leo McKern played him. He was drinking himself to death, and he was studying. He really kind of made amends for that. And at first you thought he was going to be like this, "Whoa, I'm drunk, ha, ha, ha." But he becomes a really good, and he tells a great story too. Yeah,
and I think he's the redeemed character in this whole thing. He's not a victim. He's not the new guy in the quest. He's the guy who did wrong, and he just wants to redeem himself. He just wants to be a good guy again.
Yep. And he does.
I think he does. He does it. And so I liked him. I liked all the characters. The ones that I hated, I was supposed to hate, I hated. The ones I loved, I was supposed to love.
I mean, Donner knows his stuff.
Donner knows his stuff. Like when you look at the Donner, like, filmography, man, like, it's all gold.
What about Timeline? I need to watch that again.
Timeline's good. It's maybe not the high mark, but like I think about like Maverick, where you take an old 60s TV show and then you just friggin' kill it as a movie.
So funny. And then Lethal Weapon.
And then know what the best part about Maverick was? In the last 45 seconds, you realize it's a sequel, not a remake to the TV show. And I'm like, you did it so good. Yeah, and all the Lethal Weapon stuff is so good.
I mean, the guy, someone called him a journeyman director, and I got kind of angry when they said it. But then I started thinking about it, and I don't like that label, because for some reason I feel like a negative connotation, but he did have a good journeyman-type career. I mean, he tackled horror with The Omen. I mean, if you look at his filmography, I don't think he's appreciated as he should be, because let's say you take his top 5, right? So you got Omen. What do you think?
Superman.
Lethal Weapon, Goonies, And what's 5?
It's a good question. So would you consider Superman 2 a Richard Donner movie?
No, because that had too many behind the scenes
Nonsense.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, that's a great movie though. That's a thing.
Right.
All right, so let's go.
Here's number 5 for me. You ready for this?
Yeah.
Radio Fly. Remember that movie?
Radio Fly is your 5?
Yeah, man, that was a good movie.
Well, what do you think about this? Is top 5 according to Google: Goonies, Ladyhawke, Superman, Lethal Weapon, Omen. But I don't.
Ladyhawke in there, eh?
But I would probably chuck in Maverick, because that was a blockbuster.
Yeah, or Conspiracy Theory.
Yeah, that was another really good. So,
dude, he did Assassins.
That was a good writer on. Oh, he did 16 blocks. We're just looking at his movies, going, did he do that? Scrooged. Oh, so Scrooge, right? Dude,
you know what's crazy? I never looked into this before, but the Wachowskis wrote Assassins, and Richard Donner directed it.
Yep, that's what it was. I'm reading a book called Best Year Ever about the movies of '99, and that's how I remembered it. But yeah, so we got to put Scrooge in there, right?
Yeah.
I mean, as far as just being remembered.
Yes.
But you put those 5 up there. But then look what he has on the bench, dude. Maverick. Then he has Conspiracy Theory, at least for me. And Ladyhawke. Like, that's a strong bench.
Yeah.
And he did a ton of 100%. TV before that. So yeah, I don't think he's appreciated. And those movies live on.
Absolutely. Every movie he made as director, I think holds up, ages well, and in some cases, like Superman, is kind of timeless.
I think that's the way he directed it, man. I think your favorite word, so you want to say it?
Verisimilitude?
Yeah. So I think that's why they work, is just keep it real, keep it going, and it plays for a very long time. And it's kind of a bummer that Ladyhawke didn't get that, but I still think it's a fun picture, and I'm very glad I watched it.
You know why I love Ladyhawke? And this is going to be maybe the cheesiest thing I've ever said, but I can watch it with my kids and the whole family can legitimately enjoy it.
Yeah, it's a family movie.
It's a family movie, and they did it really, really good.
It's a good picture. All right, so you gonna do the Rutger Hauer primer? So
what we had talked about was I'm a big Rutger Hauer fan, and much like Ladyhawke, I feel like he kind of flies under the radar. And so I was thinking what we would do is we'd each pick 7 films that if we had to go back in time and recast with Rutger Hauer, what would they be like? We got to go cast movies with Rutger Hauer to make them better, to improve on the movie. You got to put Rutger Hauer in the driver's seat.
Oh my goodness!
Are you ready for that?
Yeah, let's do it.
You think you can handle that?
Yeah. All right. So you just popped this on me too, but I think I can do this.
Yeah. No. So this is just something I thought of like in the last day.
Okay.
I was like, let's see if we can. I think you and I, and it's open for discussion. It's going to be a free form stream of consciousness, but open for discussion.
Now, my first one that came to my head, and this is very weird. Everyone's going to think I'm crazy, but Virtuosity, starring Denzel Washington and Russell Crowe. I would rather have Rutger in there as opposed to Crowe.
Okay.
Because I think he would have added a little bit different of a. I like Russell Crowe in that movie, but I just would have liked to have seen him against Denzel. I think that would have been big for him. But I also think that would have added a little bit more menace to the role, which would have been good for Denzel.
Yeah, no, I think you've nailed it right on the nose there.
It just felt right. So it's Virtuosity.
Virtuosity.
It's a really weird one, but I'm doing it.
It's a deep pull.
1995 cut.
Now, it makes you want to say Johnny Mnemonic next, but I'm not gonna. I would say Any Which Way But Loose with Clint Eastwood.
Whoa.
Now, it's very rare that I pull Clint Eastwood out of anything, but in a movie where he's playing second fiddle to an orangutan, I think Rutger Hauer could have brought the same amount of toughness as Clint with a little bit more humor, a little more wink at the camera, tongue-in-cheek humor.
Yeah, I could. I would just miss his fist fighting though, Eastwood. I would be interested to see his fist fighting Hauer's. Yeah, I love it. Now,
well, what if Rutger Hauer played Philo Beto, but then Eastwood played Tank?
Oh my goodness, this is your world, man. I'm not stepping on it.
No, I'm going to say that would be good.
I was going to say Knight Riders, but that's cheating. I'm not going to do that because I think
cheating.
Well, is it? I think he'd be interesting in Knight Riders.
No, I don't think it's cheating at all. I think you pull that out, and I would love to see him as the king.
Yeah. as the Ed Harris role.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, and then listen to the podcast. It's good.
Yeah, listen to that podcast. I would like to see him as RoboCop.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
I like that.
As Alex Murphy.
That works.
I think at his age he would have been primed for it, and I think like Peter Weller stole the show as that, but I think Rutger Hauer could have done a little bit more with the flashback stuff.
So are we saying starring in or no?
I'm saying in the lead role.
Oh, okay.
Peter Weller's out, Rutger Hauer's in.
Got it. Can we put him as a side character in any of these movies?
Yeah, you can put him in whatever role you want, as long as it makes the picture better.
Oh my gosh. Okay, what about? I don't know if this. I love Ironside, but what if he's the villain in not like in Total Recall, the one chasing him around? What is it? What's the guy's? Welcome to the party, Richter.
Yeah.
Is it Richter?
Yeah, Richter.
Imagine him like that. I think he would have added an interesting flair to that role.
I think he absolutely would have.
I like it. I like this. All right, what else you got next?
It's funny you said Richter from Total Recall, because I'm a similar vein. I was going to say Bennett from Commando. Right?
Yeah,
like,
I love it.
Like you get shredded Blade Runner Rutger Hauer fighting Stallone. All of a sudden, that last scene's believable.
Oh, dude.
And he could do menacing. He could do menacing.
You'd buy it. Like when Iko Uwais fights anybody, he's smaller than all the people now, but I still think he could beat people up.
Right.
I got a weird one for you.
Hit me with it.
3 Men and a Baby. He would take over Gutenberg's role.
Oh, I can get behind that.
Because we'd see some comedy.
I'd like to see him take over all of Gutenberg's roles. You know what I mean? Like Police Academy, Rutger Hauer. Throw him in there.
Let's see how he does, right?
Yeah. Let him stretch his comedic muscles, because he was like, if you can do a movie like Hobo with a Shotgun, you know what you are. You have your own sense of humor then.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay, are you ready for this?
Yeah.
Okay. The voice of Buzz Lightyear in Toy Story.
Oh my goodness.
Like, I know that Tim Allen does it so well and plays it up, but can you imagine? Like, think of the Blade Runner speech, and take that intensity with him talking to Woody about, like, I need to get back to my home planet. You know what I mean? Like that level of next level intensity would be hilarious to me.
Oh man.
Like, not as beloved to kids, but definitely would make it more interesting of a movie, I think.
I'd pay to hear this. Like, I'd pay for someone to take the dialogue from his movies and put them into that.
Ah, yes.
All right. So all right. I mean, I've come up with a lot of them. All right,
That's
let's
good.
See. Okay. All right. I had a good one, and I'm going to go back to it. I just need to see it again because I forgot what it was. But it made me laugh. Okay. No, it didn't make me laugh. Aliens. Replace Michael Biehn, put him in there.
100%. That would be his kind of movie. Ridley Scott? Yes.
He'd be good in that, too.
Yeah.
All right. I like that.
Okay. Ready for this?
Yeah.
John Travolta is out. Rutger Hauer's in for Face Off.
Whoa. I like that.
Right?
He'd ham it up. He'd have no problem hamming it up.
No, but I think the character of Castor Troy would change a little bit, but I think that him opposite Nick Cage would be sweet.
Jeez Louise. Yeah, we need that.
Yeah.
All right. So, oh man, there's so many. Your Toy Story one really made me laugh. Oh man. All right. Let's see. You know what? Top Dog instead of Chuck Norris. Put
that's amazing.
Rutger in there.
Top Dog. I can't believe they did that.
Yeah, I'm happy with that one.
You made me chuckle there. That's good. Oh, that's good. Okay. This one's maybe a little bit on the nose. But again, this movie is it's the classic, but Alan Arkin is out. Rutger Hauer is in for Little Miss Sunshine.
Oh, that's really interesting.
Couldn't you see him as like a swearing old grandfather who just like doesn't care anymore?
I can totally see that. That makes me happy.
It would take him out of the role of being like the guy with all the power or like the toughest guy, and it would put him into the position of like, oh, I'm the feeblest man here, but I'm the only guy that has my sense about me.
I love it. That's good.
Right?
That's funny.
Yeah. This is good. This is making me sad that this never will happen because he's gone.
All right.
You know what I mean?
Oh, but you know what though? It was cool seeing how many people were posting about him. I mean, Blade Runner's he's always Blade Runner. So he's like that's iconic. He's not going to lose that.
No.
Dude, I got a good one. Independence Day. He takes over Quaid's role.
Oh, that's good. He could go crazy well.
Yep. So you got the last one here.
Oh my goodness. All right, the last one. And I struggle with this one because I love the movie so much. You have to understand that. I love it. I love it so much. But Jean-Claude Van Damme is out. Rutger Hauer is in.
Street Fighter?
As Guile for Street Fighter.
Oh! I knew it. Sorry, sorry I took your thunder there. I just knew it.
No, it's okay. I'm all about it. I just think
I had a premonition.
Taking out the guy from Brussels playing the American lead and putting in a guy from Holland playing the American lead is just funny to me.
Oh man. And he still keeps everything's the same. It's just Rutger.
Everything's the same. It's just Rutger with a flat top brush cut.
All right, so we're picking 7. We got to do Buzz Lightyear because I need that.
No, I feel like that would be somewhere out there. Someone's got to put some time into that.
I love it. So we got 1. We got Buzz Lightyear. Who's the second one?
What was the one that you said that I died at?
Oh, it was Top Dog or Independence Day?
Independence Day. 100% Independence Day.
I'm back.
Right? Oh, yes. You do it so menacingly.
All right, Street Fighter is going. I'm picking that.
Okay, 100%.
So we have Buzz Lightyear. So we have Toy Story, Independence Day, Street Fighter.
What are we doing right now?
I love it.
Yeah, I think Aliens should be in there.
All right,
that would just be like a legit good movie.
Yeah.
Like, I think Aliens and Little Miss Sunshine would both be like legit excellent movies.
All right. I like the sensitivity that Michael Biehn brought to it, but I'd like to see his role. Can we add 3 Men and a Baby?
Yes.
All right.
Please, yes.
So right now we have 3 Men and a Baby, Toy Story, Aliens, Little Miss Sunshine, Independence Day, and Street Fighter. We have Virtuosity, Any Which Way But Loose, Knight Riders, RoboCop, Total Recall, Commando, Face Off. Wait, will he wear the same outfit as Bennett in Commando?
Yeah, the chainmail, but it'll fit.
Oh my gosh. So it's like Face Off, which would be huge for him. Top Dog, which would just be extremely weird. RoboCop would be interesting. Like, all these are good, but I can't shake the vest.
No, I feel like Commando, we need to redeem that last fight scene.
All right, so Commando.
So there you go. Rutger Hauer, you would improve these movies.
Commando, 3 Men and a Baby, Toy Story, Aliens, Little Miss Sunshine, Independence Day, and Street Fighter. It's perfect.
That was maybe our fastest list, but maybe like the best we've ever done.
I think we knew which ones worked. Does that make sense? Like, I don't feel bad about Virtuosity or Knight Riders or Total Recall or Top Dog.
I don't feel bad about RoboCop not making it. Like, that's fine.
I mean,
any which way but loose. Like, there's no problem there. As when you said Independence Day, man.
Yeah, your Buzz Lightyear made me so happy. So I'm like, what would that be?
Right?
Yeah, that's good. And then Commando with the chained mail and like the pleather and the knife and the mustache, the blonde mustache.
He's got to have I think he has a black mustache with blonde hair. Like he's got one of those beards that doesn't match the hairs. 3 Men and a Baby. That would just be so weird, wouldn't it? Yeah. So here's the thing with 3 Men and a Baby. Would it still be Tom Selleck and Ted Danson? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, No, we got to add in JCVD and Michael Ironside. Oh, Ironside, Van Damme, and Hauer. 3 Men and a Baby. Can you make that poster? Yep. I'm gonna do it. I'll get it for you by tonight. That is my favorite thing. 3 Men and wow. It's like the Expendables of 3 Men and a Baby. Oh, that's perfect. I love it. Hey man, well this was fun and thanks for bringing me on here. Thanks for introducing me to this movie. Anytime I can throw you, it's anytime I just love saying like, here, Mark, try this on for size. And then like, I'm waiting for like the thumbs up or thumbs down. Right. And I remember when you got back to me about Youngblood, you were like, well, that was neat. Like, it wasn't like, this is a good movie. It was like, what did I just watch? And I hadn't watched it in years and I forgot how brutal it was. I mean, I look back at it fondly though. I mean, we had a fun time recording. Yeah, it was a good experience. It was a weird movie with a good experience. But this one was a lot of fun. So, and also as a podcast host, I like having movies that people are passionate about. Right. So, it's a win-win for me because then I get to experience. And also, like, you and I love Goon, right? We want to talk about Goon, but I don't want to talk about Goon on the pod because I don't know what I'd say. I love it. I love it all.
Yeah.
Love
that
it.
scene, you know, that scene that's so good. Oh yeah, that scene's really good. And then that scene's really good. So I like coming in with something different to
we
talk
got to
about.
kind of go at it from the side with Youngblood.
Yeah, exactly. and then I still can't believe we forgot to bring up Rob Lowe playing hockey in Super Troopers 2.
Yes.
But hey, we just redeemed it. Yeah.
Yes.
Hey man, thanks for coming out. So for me, Mark Hoffmeyer, for Adam Mad Dog. Wait, no, for Adam Mallard Duck Hodgins.
Yep.
This is Movies, Films, and Flicks. We'll see you next week.